Hi, I'm Molly Stanberry.
And I'm Eve Park. We're from MacMost.com.
And you're watching LabRats.
Well, hello and welcome to another edition of LabRats. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers, and we're here today at the PMNCBLGQ.
Podcast New Media Expo, I think it's called.
Yeah, they changed the name from last year. I can't remember exactly what it is this year, but it's the same concept. We're here to talk to podcasters, meet podcasters, and various podcasting-like concerns.
Right, and you guys have been saying to us, hey, how'd you make LabRats? We want to learn more about how to podcast, and we thought, well, let's go to the Podcast Expo and talk to the people that do it like we do and find out what gear they use and that sort of thing. So coming up on the show, you're going to see interviews with the gurus of podcasting, and we're going to talk to them about how they create the magic that they do.
I think you can actually see a couple of them behind us right now. We've got Alex Lindsay from the PixelCorps, Mac Break, and all of that, and he's being interviewed by Torrent, which is a show about podcasting on G4.
Absolutely. So you did an interview with him a little later on?
Yeah, we'll get him pretty soon, and we'll also get both Eric and Eliza.
Right. And of course, we're here because TechSmith has brought us down to Ontario, California. We've been working the booth this morning, and because, of course, they sponsored our show. So, of course, we love them because they make this possible, and they make this show possible. And I guess coming up next is an ad from TechSmith.
Figure that. I don't know how that works.
It's strange. It's strange technology magic. Anyway,
check it
how
out.
come you're wearing the orange shirt? Because I didn't get the memo.
I was just figuring, what should I put on that looks good today? And then I came downstairs and you were wearing exactly the same thing.
I know.
Not planned.
Not planned at all. But oh well, I guess this is the LabRats uniform for the day.
The uniform, or we could pretend we're part of some revival band or something like that.
Does that mean that I have to dye my hair now?
Spike it up right up top and, multicolors.
Lovely. Yeah. All right, well, here comes a message from our sponsor, TechSmith. Thank you, TechSmith, for taking us to California. And after that, interviews from the Podcast and New Media Expo here in Ontario, California.
This is a pair of sneakers. They're worn and comfy. This is a Jack Russell Terrier. It likes shoes. This is Camtasia Studio 4. It can edit your screencasts. Now answer our trivia question. What screencast editor can be left unsupervised and doesn't smell like feet? I'll be back at the end of the show with the answer.
I'm here with Kirsten, This Week in Science. How are you?
I'm great. I'm having a wonderful time.
Now, our viewers would really like to know how to put together a podcast from a content perspective, right? And now you would be Ms. Content, I think. This is a fabulous woman doing a podcast about science. Mm-hmm. And isn't a great podcast all about creating great content?
Right. You want to find content that will interest your listeners, keep them listening, and also, in our purpose, it's to educate people as well.
So tell me about This Week in Science. How did it get started? Where did you get the idea from?
This Week in Science got started as a radio show on the local UC Davis community campus radio station, and I'd been working at the radio station as a student for years, and then I moved into this apartment complex, and it's summertime, it's hot outside, drinking beers with my neighbor, and then, we get to the conversations about science, and we're waxing poetic about science.
As things tend to do.
When you drink a few beers, right.
I'm sitting around my friends, I'm talking about, Newtonian theory and things like that. So.
Yeah. And so one thing led to another, and I said, why don't we put this on the radio? I'm sure everyone would love to hear us talk about science.
And so what happened?
And so I went to the local radio station. I went back to the public affairs director. I said, what do you think? Pitched the show idea. He said, it's great. Let's start it. That was 7.5 years ago. And we haven't looked back. We've kept going, growing, developing a website, getting into podcasting. And now we are at somewhere with our entire library at around 100,000 downloads a month.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, what would be your most popular show?
That's a really great question. One of our most popular shows was with an interview with William Gibson.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, a lot of people were interested. It got posted on Boing Boing, and so that brought in a lot of people. I have to say that it goes up and down. We've had some like Brian Greene, the I guess he's a theoretical physicist. Who, string theory, and he's done his Nova special and all that. That was a really big one. We had a lot of listeners for that. I don't know, and we also did a series on global warming and climate change, and we brought in a climate change expert to talk with us and kind of do a climatology 101 and go over issues dealing with that. And we got a lot of listeners for that. There were people coming in all over the place.
So tell me, how do you adjust your content for your audience? Like, how do you gauge that?
Well, we try and cover, it's This Week in Science, so it's not any one specific science topic. I try and get as broad as possible, and so if I find that, I'm covering way too much biology, I will go out of my way to look for interesting physics stories or chemistry stories or medical stories, things that will kind of bridge the gap between different types, the interests of different listeners. Additionally, like if I find that I've interviewed too many string theorists in the last 6 months, it's time to move on to something else.
Do you get angry mail from do you get angry mail from people in the biology world who go, wait a second, those physicists are getting way too much camera time?
More often, not so much. More often, it's people from the physical world going, why do you talk about biology all the time? And I say, oh, okay, well, here's something to make you happier.
So tell me this then. Okay, so it's obviously in a podcast it's important to understand your audience and what they want. So how did you go about that?
Oh, well, I listen to the emails that I get from people and the criticisms that I get from the listeners. That way, I try and make changes when I feel like I'm getting a lot of comments on the same vein. I try and adjust for that. We also did a survey a few months back to try and actually find out what our listeners liked and didn't like about the show. It's crazy, though. I mean, we said, okay, what do you not like about the podcast, and what do you like about the podcast? And half the people said, I hate it when you do interviews, and half the people said, I love it when you do interviews. So
how do you distill that down then?
Well, we try and do interviews on half of the shows. So every other week there's an interview. I
always find, that, especially on LabRats, we get complaints about one thing, but people love some things as well. So if you get an equal balance on both sides, you're doing the right thing.
That's exactly it. It's all about balance. Everything is about balance.
Now, do you have eye protection?
Of course. I didn't bring it with me, though. I forgot. I mean, I wasn't ready for, the expo eye problems.
Well, the problem here is lots of geeks and spittle. That's the problem. There, see, much prettier than me with those on, right? Okay, so what can we find out about?
In the lab.
That's very nice. Where's your Bunsen burner?
In my pocket.
Oh, okay, right,
course,
absolutely. So give us a URL where we can send people to check it out.
www.twis.org. TWIS for This Week in Science.
There you go. This Week in Science with Kirsten. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you.
Nice talking to you.
You too.
Thanks.
All right.
I'm here with the crew from Torrent, and that's why we're adopting these poses. They're on TV. This is like total TV pose, like Charlie's Angels.
Oh no, wait a minute. We got a back pose.
Oh. Anyways, since these guys are on TV, I'm gonna let you have the mic. You can do the interview.
We're gonna do the interview.
Yeah.
About
how do we make a podcast?
how do we make a podcast? I think you guys should be telling us how you make a podcast.
Okay. How do we make TV shows about podcasting?
First off, Eliza here has the fun job of actually contacting the people. Do you want to answer this since you actually do this part?
Sure. Well, what I do is I screen. Hold this down. What I do is I go on the internet.
One of the things with podcasting is we have cheap gear, so our microphone kind of is lousy.
It's kind of like a karaoke joint, really, is what it is. I feel like I'm doing karaoke. What I do is I research for content, and do you want me to talk to you, or do you want me to talk to the camera? Does it matter?
Either way.
What I do is I research. So I'm so used to you saying move it up more, and I'm okay. Take 3.
Do we have to take that away from you?
No. What I do is I research all the content on the internet, and then from that, I find what the gold is, and then I contact the people that create it. And then I beg them to get on the show.
For the folks out there, could you explain what the internet is?
The internet is the place where magic happens. All your wildest dreams can come true on the internet for $3.99. Eric, want to take this one?
You just answered that one. That was a great answer. Thank you.
So what do you do, Eric?
I do the editing. Once Eliza's contacted the people, sorry, I totally just brushed your boob.
This is
That was not by accident.
Ever. You know this is one take, right? We don't cut.
Yeah, that's cool.
No.
Yay. Basically, I will go out with Eliza, shoot the interviews with the people that we've contacted, if we can get an interview with them, then take it back to the studio, cut it all together into a show, and output it. And then Eliza and I shoot all the throws and links, and it's a show. That's about it.
It's a great show. If you're not watching, tune in. It's fantastic.
Also,
TorrentTV.ca.
Also, it is just the two of us that do the entire show. So I shoot as much as I can. If we can wrangle up another spare shooter to come out, then I'll do an interview. But for the most part, it's me shooting, Eliza hosting. She's doing all the research, finding the content, and I package it all together.
And I do the writing too.
And she does a lot of the writing. Most of the writing, pretty much. All of it, really.
And I hear you get jiggy with Battlestar Galactica folks.
That was just one time, and it was for comedy. And it was for comedy.
This is comedy right here.
It really is. Props. No, I did just for the camera. It was acting. I know Aaron Douglas, who plays Chief T-Roll. He's famous. I know some famous people. I know. And yeah, we did it for a little bit on our show. Did you watch that?
I don't watch TV. I just make it.
Good answer. You're lucky.
Yes. So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Eliza Bain of Torrent.
Yes.
What are the challenges involved in actually taking podcasts and putting them onto the big screen? Because you're putting this out in, are you putting in high def? Or are you just doing standard definition?
Standard def.
Well, that's bad enough still. What are the challenges of doing that? Because these things,
Many.
they're tiny little windows on your screen on the computer.
Do you mean like resolution-wise or challenges like tech-wise?
Resolution-wise, content-wise, rights-wise, everything. What are all the things that bother you?
Well, one thing that I've been noticing is a lot of the people that are creating the content, are becoming more savvy with their rights, which is good for them, but we also find it hard because they're trying to get contracts with big networks. So they're kind of in a bit of a purgatory, so we can't often get their work on our show because they are looking for a big network. Or they've already signed exclusivity deals, so we can't show their work. So we're finding that a lot more often than we have before,
Is it getting worse as you
It
go
is.
on?
It's getting more and more difficult, for sure. Yeah.
Well, you can have LabRats anytime you like for a low fee.
Really?
Just $6 million per episode.
Wow.
No worries, yeah.
Sweet. What kind of problems do you have working? I mean, I know I also have problems with this guy, but what problems do you encounter?
Most of my problems arise from pretty much directly her.
I have a similar situation. Most of my problems arise from Andy.
Yeah. But for the most part, a lot of it is to like music release. Most of the music that people use in these web-based videos, since there's no rules, no regs, you can do whatever you want online. They'll use any kind of music, and a lot of that music makes the piece what it is. So when we want to try and relay that into our show, either we've got to cut the song out, put something else in, which kind of takes away from the piece, or we just can't use it at all.
Yeah, because the Doobie Brothers probably wouldn't want to be on TV like this without you paying them to do so.
No, and there was a great piece, The Tripod, with the Chris Isaak Wicked Game song.
Yeah.
That was done in black and white. Great video, hilarious.
Oh, and there's a lot of spoofs as well. People do a lot of spoofs with music.
Yeah,
And we can't use any of
satire.
that because it's too close to the original, which is unfortunate because there's a lot of really great spoofs and parodies out there.
Yes. Next question.
I think we're done.
Okay.
That's it?
Do you guys have anything to add to this?
Watch Torrent. I'm on it.
So, we've been looking for the biggest podcast geeks here at the show, and I found Allison Sheridan here. Now, you do a podcast called NosillaCast podcast.
Yes, I do. It's a technology geek podcast with an ever so slight Macintosh bias.
Boo Mac!
Well, that's a lot of sarcasm on that. It's a lot of Mac.
Oh, it's a lot of Mac.
A lot of Mac
I'm
stuff.
not a big Mac fan, but they know that.
Yeah, I know that.
But
I like you anyway.
I know. So tell us a little bit about how that got started. And you were telling me that you were like a little afraid getting into making podcasts at the beginning.
Definitely. I was really scared to get started, and I kept thinking, who am I to think that I could do a podcast? Who would want to listen to me, And but I had this need to tell people about all the shareware and freeware tools that I'm excited about. And so I thought, I'm just going to do it. Maybe 5 people listen to me, maybe nobody listens to me, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I was still nervous. I was still scared to do it, but I remembered my brother Kelly saying, oh, come on, you can do it. What makes you think you can't do stuff? Just do it. And he would do these amazing things. And so I said, all right, I'm just going to jump. And I did 4 podcasts, and I did what every podcaster does at 4. I stopped. They call it pod fading, right? And I just got tired, and I didn't know if it was working. Was anybody listening? Right. And then a guy named Neil sent me an email. He goes, dude, where's the podcast? Oh. And I was hooked that day. That was when I said, hey, there's people listening.
So what would you say is like, if you're thinking about doing an audio podcast of some sort, where do you start?
Well, the most important thing is that it's something you're passionate about. Don't try to do something like you go, okay, clearly left-handed screws are a big topic, I should go talk about them, but you don't really care about left-handed screws, you're going to do a horrible podcast. Right. It's got to be something you're already excited about, because it takes a lot of energy to keep doing this. It's not you can't just spit it out and do good content if you're not excited about it. So getting something you're really excited about is really important. And you don't have to spend a lot of money either. You don't have to get a great microphone. You'll find fairly quickly that people will get, okay, that was cute, we like your content, get a better microphone, and then you move up. Right. But for, $50, you can get a headset microphone, $30 for QuickTime Pro, you can start doing it. If you've already got a Mac, like you should have a Mac, you've got GarageBand already right there. It's already, you don't even have to spend the $30 on QuickTime. Okay,
so what is the Allison Sheridan recommended basic starter equipment list then? Let's go through it.
Well, there's a Plantronics headset that I like a fair amount. I don't actually use that. I use a $100 microphone, the Samson CO1U, and it's good because it has a sticker right here that actually says ideal for podcasting.
Oh,
so,
there you go.
It's got to be good.
Yeah.
And, I've got on a little $15 microphone stand, and one of those little bouncy things, the little spider thingy that keeps it from making noise when you bump it.
Oh, yeah, right.
So for $100, I got a microphone that everybody says sounds really good.
And then what about computer-wise?
I actually, I record mine on a MacBook Pro. I sometimes do it on a G5, that's certainly powerful enough. I use GarageBand. I like to be able to lay in a little music afterwards, and I do some minor editing. I do very, very little editing, but I actually script my show. Every word I say is scripted, down to the point where if I'm going to make a joke and I'm going to laugh, I write ha-ha.
Now, doesn't that make it a little, don't you find that you have to perform that then effectively?
Yeah, it's a little stilted more than I would like, but I do a lot of technical depth, so I don't really, there's no way I could pull this off later if I were, right?
Script. You're off script right now.
I'm off script?
You're off script.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing fine, aren't I? No? I'm sorry,
You're
I need to get back on the script.
Right.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, back. Okay, so when I say ha-ha, that's when I go next. But I find that it's easier for me because I do a lot of depth. I also do a 40-minute show, and just sitting there with that microphone, it's terrifying. Mm-hmm. It's really hard to do. One-on-one, I can do a long conversation, no problem. So I like a script.
So do you find you got intimidated at the very beginning?
Yeah, I was real nervous at the beginning, and it's fun to go back and listen to what I said I was going to talk about. One thing, that's a great piece of advice there is, don't get your heart set on whatever you thought you were going to talk about is what you end up talking about, because you're going to evolve into the right thing later. Right. But just start with what you think you might do. If you listen to my early shows, I don't do anything I said I was going to do in the beginning.
Now, what about worrying about the website of things? You need a website. You need to understand iTunes, that sort of thing. How do you get around that?
Yeah, the thing I found, and a lot of people ask me, why do you do this podcast for free? Because I don't make any money on it. And I think I make $5 a week or something like that. It's hilarious. It is not a monetary venture for me. But what I found is how many people were willing to help me for free. There are these random people I've met across the world. I got a buddy named Bart in Ireland, and he helped teach me how to use WordPress and how to set up a MySQL database, and I don't know anything about that stuff before he taught me. But now what I'm finding is people are coming to me and saying, hey, I need help. Well, I'm going to help them because somebody helped me figure it out. The community is huge to help you figure it out. It's really wonderful. And I mean, I do mine on WordPress. WordPress is free. They're giving that away. I make my photo albums in JAlbum. They're giving me that for free. I'm giving my stuff away for free. Everybody's happy.
That's right.
Nobody's making any money.
No, so for you, it's all about fun and perseverance?
Yeah, definitely. There's days where I'm just like, I don't want to, you know, but, or midweek when like a week like this where I've only written about a third of the show and I'm hoping I can just wing it. Maybe I'll take this video and stick it in and go, good enough? Can you guys just listen to that? But it's still fun. And all it takes is an email from somebody saying, hey, I listened to that and I really enjoyed it. And I get one of those, that'll carry me for a month. I get another one, and you know, this week I've run into people who've walked up and say, hey, I like your show. They're listening. That's great fun.
That's payment enough.
Oh yeah, yeah it is. It's I wouldn't mind making millions. That would be great too.
Well, wouldn't we all?
You know how to get me on a TV show or anything? You know.
We might better work that out. All right.
Not enough girl podcasters, you know.
No, it's true. Although there's more this year than ever before.
There are definitely. Just met a science teacher. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So where can we find out more?
My podcast is hosted at podfeet.com, Podfeet. My husband says I have feet like pods. I don't think you'd see that. Yeah, that's where it comes from.
So NosillaCast.
And of course on iTunes. And Odeo and Yahoo and all those places.
Okay, so NosillaCast. It's Allison Sheridan, which is your name spelled backwards, right?
Yeah, it's very tricky.
There you go. You can find it google.com, itunes.com, or not .com, I guess, just iTunes.
iTunes,
application.
Everywhere.
There you go. Allison Sheridan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Andy.
All right.
All right.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Are we recording this now? Awesome. Yeah, so I'm here with Alex Lindsay of the PixelCorps, a good friend of the show Lab with Leo and of LabRats, of course. So Alex, what brings you to the Podcast Expo this year?
Well, I'm actually speaking on Saturday, so I'll be talking about making video podcasts, oddly enough, and wandering around, seeing what's new, seeing what people are coming up with, looking for new tools and new services.
So for people out there who haven't seen your shows, heaven forbid, what is it that you're working on right now in the world of podcasting, both audio and video? So
we have a bunch of shows. We have a whole MacBreak line. So there's MacBreak Weekly, MacBreak Tech, MacBreak the Show, and we'll be coming out with more MacBreak shows in the fall. Then we also have This Week in Media, as well as Gear Media Tech, which is all about how to make podcasts, and some other ones that I can't remember. Then we also do services for other people. So we make podcasts for people who want to hire us to do that as well.
Okay, so in the world of video, which is obviously what we're doing here, but we're just looking to get an idea what people are actually using to produce their video podcast. So what are you using?
Well, I don't know if we're the normal folks to do this, but what we do is we're using what's called a Sony F950 Cine Alta. So it's a digital film camera. I mean, literally it was...
Yeah. How much?
The retail price on it is about $250,000. Yeah. We got it on sale for a fair bit less than that. And then we also, we record it straight into hard drive. We record to a RAID, and from fiber outlet. And then we record our sound to what's called a Sound Devices 722T.
So we're talking average, everyday stuff that you'll find at the Walmart.
Yeah, pretty much. If you go to Walmart and say, I'd like a Sony F950, they'll go, it's in aisle L. Yeah, pretty much.
And it's on sale, of course.
Yeah, exactly. It is on now. I mean, now the great thing is that while we use all of these big cameras right now, the exciting thing is that the quality of the cameras that are coming out now, you don't need to do what we're doing. We got it years ago when it made sense, and it still makes sense for us. But you can get these little cameras now that have, the key is they have an HDMI out. That HDMI is uncompressed coming out of that back little camera. You can get great quality out of the little Canon HV20s, the new little Sonys. All of that stuff is plenty to do this kind of work.
Yeah, I guess from a equipment perspective, you're aiming at a higher end market for higher end productions, anyways, not just the web market.
We didn't buy the camera for podcasting. We bought the camera for visual effects production that we do for clients like Nickelodeon and other companies. So we don't. That's not what the only way we use it. We just happen to have it in the office, so we figured, well, we'll turn it on. It's cheaper than actually a lot of the other cameras. So there's a lot of other reasons that we like it. But as I said, there's a lot of other tools that are coming out that are going to be very effective.
Excellent. So for someone that's just wanting to get started in the world of video podcasting, what would you actually recommend? Because they're not going to be going out there to Walmart and getting that $250,000 camera.
Best camera right now, it changes every month. Yeah. But the camera that we're still the happiest with right now is the HV20, the Canon HV20. It's a great camera. We hate HDV as a format. It drives us a little crazy. But the Canon has a 1920 by 1080 imager. You're going to get progressive 24p out of it if you do the reverse pull down. So there's a lot of things that are really great about that. that we really like about the HV20. It's the quality of the video is really, really high. We wish it was 3-chip, but outside of that, it's $1,000. I think you can get it on sale for $800. It's a really, really great value right now.
Good. And if you can give our viewers a quick overview of the PixelCorps, because I know that's another one of the big things you do. What is the PixelCorps?
The PixelCorps is really a guild for content creators. So the idea was that 500 years ago, when you wanted to build a castle, you'd send out a couple messengers and 1,000 people would show up. The corporate culture lived inside the guild, not inside of any individual company. And so we're trying to recreate that. We started with 3 people in a coffee shop, and we've got 2,040 countries now. So we train and organize people to do production on stuff like this.
Yeah, and you give them challenges so they can improve their skills as well.
Exactly. We push them up against, that's a lot of what we use that big 950 for, is actually to shoot green screen challenges and effects challenges and so on and so forth. So it's really we try to push them up against real production problems. And right now we have a whole bunch of members actually working on a real movie, so it's a lot of fun.
Perfect. So where can they see more about that?
PixelCorps.com.
I'll be right here. Hey, thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Earlier in the show, we asked you what screencast editor can be left unsupervised and doesn't smell like feet. Is it A, a pair of sneakers, B, a Jack Russell Terrier, or C, Camtasia Studio 4? The answer is Camtasia Studio 4. Learn more at labrats.techsmith.com.
So what do you make of the show this year?
Smaller.
Smaller, yeah. Exciting people, though. There's lots of female podcasters, I noticed.
Definitely. That's a nice thing to see the variety of there. We've got some bird podcasters up top over there.
And you know what? I'm going to send you a wardrobe memo tomorrow. Then I'll send you the color of the shirt that I'm going to wear. So you can't wear the same color again.
I think this is the only shirt that I have that's anything close to what you have.
I hope so. I hope so. Because, people are talking.
They are. It's just like we get to interview somebody and it should be about the podcast and they're like
what's with the orange shirts?
Let's talk about your shirts.
Oh,
and it's like,
God.
No.
So I guess we don't have the facilities for viewer mail or pictures. So
your pictures. Just imagine your picture here.
That's right.
And if you want to get your picture on a future episode when we're actually in the studio, send it to feedback@labrats.tv.
Right. And don't forget that you can go to the forums at cyberwalker.com/forums. We share that with cyberwalker.com, my tech advice website. Anything else?
Yeah, well, you know what? We're shooting this on one day right now. We're going to have more later on. We're going to have different shirts.
Yay!
Different
new wardrobe.
Yes.
All right,
so more later.
Or later. Well, goodbye from Ontario, California. Thanks for downloading today. My name is Andy Walker.
I'm Sean Carruthers.
And we will see you next time.
I'm going to try to interview those birds.
All right.
Are you ready?
You can cut this, right? Do you want to just go anytime?
Yeah, eye contact whatsoever.
Try this at home.
Are you ready?